HIV and AIDS are viruses that affect millions of Americans each year. While most recognize that the threat of infection still exists, much of the population is still undereducated or in denial of the threat that still exists in our society. This documentary highlights the perception of the AIDS virus through the eyes of a few very different people. Danielle, a college student. Joe, a custodian of 25 years. Dan, a middle school student. Nicole, a 25-year-old college graduate. Justin, a high school senior. And Kathy, a stay-at-home mom and part-time receptionist. Well, first and foremost, my unsuspecting victims, what types of people do you think have AIDS?
Sexually promiscuous people,
gay people,
homeless people,
drug addicts, heroin addicts mostly.
people who have had blood transfusions.
honestly, black people.
To be honest, not to be racial or anything, black people.
Anyone else? No?
No.
A lot of strange ideals from this bunch. I wonder why.
Have you ever heard of the Eric Johnson House?
No, I'm not.
Have you ever heard of the Eric Johnson House?
No.
No.
Have you ever heard of the Eric Johnson House?
No.
Well, that's a start. Have you ever heard of the Eric Johnson House? I'll let her explain.
I'm Lori Litt Robbins. I'm the executive director of the Eric Johnson House. The Eric Johnson House was opened in 1994. It was, I guess developed is the right word, in the early 1990s after Eric Johnson died from HIV. He was a member of the Church of the Redeemer, and his parents in the church at that time were very supportive of him during his illness. But the church realized that at that time there were not a lot of services for people living with HIV, and they wanted to do something for people who weren't as fortunate as Eric to have the support of their family and community, and develop a program for individuals who were discriminated against for their HIV status. So they looked to use the rectory of the Church of the Redeemer as a housing program for homeless people that are HIV positive.
Well then, after that, do you think an AIDS problem still exists?
I'd say you need to be educated. HIV and AIDS has not gone away, it is not diminished, it is not decreased. I could quote you statistics of the rates of transmission for different age groups have not gone down at all. In fact, some of the rates of transmission for adolescents and young adults has increased over the past 5 years.
Yeah, so maybe it is still a big deal. What about in Morris County? What do you think?
No.
I would guess no.
No.
No, I do not.
AIDS is a taboo, even now. People know about it, but they will not accept it.
To be honest, I really don't know.
Morris County is not all that receptive to a place like this because they didn't think that Morris County had an AIDS problem. But again, AIDS does not discriminate, and every county has an AIDS problem. Every county has an AIDS problem.
Every county has an AIDS problem.
So if AIDS is still very prevalent, and Morris County does indeed have an AIDS problem, then why don't we hear about it anymore?
It's more personal and no one really wants to hear about it.
Well, one, because people aren't dying as quickly.
Maybe everybody's a little more comfortable with it than they used to. It's not as shocking.
I think one of the reasons is because there's more awareness. Some people just don't care.
Everybody shies away from it. They don't want to have to deal with the fact that it's out there.
I think there's a more, not positive hype, but more of an understanding going on in our media today. So I think there has been a big media change. It's been for the better.
I think the more educated you are, the less you'll feel threatened. If you know that you can't contract HIV from being friends with or kissing or hanging out with somebody, then you won't be threatened by people that are HIV positive. I mean, there are ways to have safe sex with HIV positive people. It does not, prohibit, HIV does not prohibit somebody from living a normal life. So I think the more people are educated, the more they'll be able to realize that it is an illness like any other illness, and it should not be stigmatized, and the individual should not be discriminated against because of the illness that they have.
Thank you.
You're so welcome.